I got introduced to sobriety a little over 23 years ago. I'm finding the love I had for nature slowly returning. My passion for hiking, climbing, and camping had all but faded away. I lost this passion when I got active in ham radio. A sure sign of my chronic isolation. A little more work here. Less talk. Here we go. It was my abiding love for nature that sustained me physically and emotionally and spiritually. Even at the bottom, when I felt alienated from everything, my link to the natural world, my higher power, hard at work while practicing anonymity. Now, recovering from alcoholism, I once again became a volunteer for the agency that maintains nature trails in the Catskill mountain range in the state of New York. I venture out from time to time inspecting the trails on 2 ranges. I have 9 volunteers that work under me. I meet them on the trail, and I train new volunteers to work as trail maintainers, to build and maintain trails and shelters. We are dedicated to keeping each trail easily passable, clearly and consistently marked, of course, in safe condition, and harmonious with its surroundings, plants, animals, and ecosystems. These good folks have taught me a lot about the relationships that these plants and animals have with each other, as well as their unique habitats. Not long ago, I began reading about AA's traditions and was struck by the similarities that Tradition 1 had with the unity of the natural world I have learned about. How the individual parts make up the whole, and the whole in turn makes life possible to continue on and pass on its endowments to the individuals yet to come. This perpetual dynamic seems to be at work in both the physical and spiritual worlds. But on the flip side, each is only a little piece of the greater puzzle, which I still find puzzling, but I've come to believe in. And so, at least to my reckoning, it seems that the dynamic process that unifies and perpetuates the unique habitats I help to preserve is the same process in Alcoholics Anonymous: unity, service, and recovery. Each individual making a distinctive contribution to the whole. This ecological paradox is beautifully expressed in the chapter about Tradition 1 in the 12 and 12. Those who look closely soon have this key to this strange paradox. The AA member has to conform to these principles of recovery. His life actually depends upon obedience to spiritual principles. If he deviates too far, the penalty is sure and swift. He sickens and dies. Realization dawns that he is but a small part of a greater whole. It appears to me that there's definitely something at work. Something that offers individuals lavish liberty to be themselves, even to destruction, yet acts like a glue that bonds us together as a community or a fellowship. The 12 and 12 defines this glue as an irresistible strength of purpose and action for each animal and plant, each alcoholic. There's a common bond to stay alive, which for an alcoholic like me translates into staying sober with the help of AA, and then passing on this legacy in unity and recovery. What is required for me is self-sacrifice. To ensure the common welfare. It's like a complete unbroken circle. I am just now beginning to understand how to relate to the fellowship of AA. What I have been taught while working on nature trails has shed some light on this common welfare mentioned on Tradition 1. My individual liberty to act, think, talk, or balk, as well as my sobriety, relies solely on my willingness and my complete surrender to the spiritual principles spelled out and conveniently numbered in the 12 steps and 12 traditions. My sponsor told me early on the AA program was a program of relationships. I didn't have a clue what he was talking about at that time. Now I think I'm finally catching on. It all began with striking up a relationship with a power greater than myself. Now along comes the first tradition, which spells out, for me, how to form a relationship with the community. That crowd of anarchists, as the 12 and 12 so aptly defines us in the chapter on Tradition 1. I have witnessed this strength of purpose in action out on the nature trails where I volunteer, and am now witnessing it again here in the Fellowship of AA. Individual diversity is obviously not a weakness, but a strength of purpose and action. Just like the 12 steps, the 12 traditions are a pathway of spiritual progress. Being a chronic isolator at heart, I seem to have been born that way. I first went along with this unity group deal because I was desperate and willing to try anything. As my sobriety lengthened from hours to days to months, I found out that the Tradition 1 ecology seemed to help keep me sober. As it did others in my group. As time progressed, I began to get a glimmer of the miraculous promises available to me by putting common welfare first. Instead of feeling diminished by being only a small part, I began to feel like I had found a home, a place where I belonged after a lifetime of isolation and being fatally unique. As it did others in my group, as time progressed, I began to get a glimmer of the miraculous promises available to me by putting common welfare first. As time progressed, instead of beginning to feel diminished, I began to feel I had found a home, a place where I belong. Now I see that the spiritual principle of putting common welfare first is my proper relationship to the big picture. The whole deal. Which in turn keeps me whole. As I have witnessed out on the trails and here in AA, when an individual flourishes and grows, it greatly benefits the whole community. That it is a small yet distinctive part of, and this is only possible if the community itself flourishes and grows. This same economy at work, in nature, is hard at work in the AA fellowship. I'm not surprised. It seems to be how it works. The original essay was by Ed C. from Bowling Green, Kentucky. This is Martin S. from Binghamton, New York.